I know the term avoidant attachment sounds a little bit, judgy, but here's the thing. If you found yourself regularly losing interest in your partners, running away from love, or you can't ever seem to find a partner who measures up to that ideal person in your head, exploring attachment style can be a useful way to understand how to create relationships where you have a really great connection and you feel understood. Have you been in that push-pull dynamic in relationships where one person's pursuing and one person's distancing, or maybe you know people who have? If you're frustrated in dating and relationships, it's helpful to learn everything you can about your attachment style and how it's impacting your relationships. I'm Kaylee Larkin. I'm an attachment coach, and I help people who feel frustrated and ready to give up on love so they can feel more love, security, and deep connection, and build the relationship of their dreams. If this topic is interesting for you, please click like and subscribe so you can be notified when I release new content, and you can also find more free resources at kayleelarkin.com. So let's talk about avoidant attachment style. This attachment adaptation is also called dismissive avoidant. It is one of 4 attachment styles which describe how we connect and relate with other people. These attachment styles form when we're very young, as infants or even in the womb. People typically have a blend of these 4 different attachment styles, but one primary style. The other 3 styles also have judgy sounding names. They're the anxious or anxious ambivalent style, disorganized or fearful style, and lastly, the secure style. Quick note, you might have heard the term fearful avoidant, and I cover that more in the post on disorganized attachment style. This post is more about dismissive avoidant attachment. Attachment researchers have found that the secure style tends to be correlated with relationship happiness and longevity. So the 4 styles that I'll be naming here are anxious, avoidant, disorganized, and secure. These are adaptations because we are all wired for secure attachment and connecting with other people. That's the good news. And while sometimes negative life or relational experiences get in the way of that, people develop these adaptations to cope with less than optimal circumstances, it is possible to return to that underlying blueprint of secure. So, how do you recognize avoidant attachment? People with the avoidant adaptation can often feel kind of crowded or trapped when they're in intimate relationships, and this can result in them being labeled emotionally unavailable. This is partly due to the fact that they're often not that comfortable with their own feelings and needs because they learned early on that it wasn't okay to seem needy. And they view people expressing needs, including their own needs, as being a burden. It can also be challenging to figure out what they need and want sometimes. And so, in an intimate relationship, when people often share feelings and needs with each other, this can be uncomfortable, both because they have to identify their own feelings and needs, and because they're put in the role of helping other people, and they can feel kind of judgmental about others' neediness. It's kind of like if you were raised without ever getting to eat something that you liked, such as chocolate. And if you asked for chocolate, you were scolded. And now you're with someone who's complaining that they didn't get any chocolate in their lunch today. And you might feel kind of resentful and annoyed because you had learned to do without, so why couldn't they? That's kind of how avoidants can feel about other people expressing needs. They also feel pressure to perform and worried that they won't live up to the person's standards and will be criticized or put in an uncomfortable position. People with avoidant attachment are more comfortable or more used to being independent, analytical, and task-focused. They do tend to respect other people's privacy and space, and they desire that respect from other people, and this can be difficult in some relationships, particularly if they wind up with a partner who has anxious attachment style. You can find out more about this pairing in my post, Why Do the Anxious and Avoidant Styles Attract Each Other? It can also feel hard to shift from being alone to being with other people. In the avoidance style, people can go to great lengths to avoid rejection and criticism. For example, coming home as late as possible from work so they can avoid a critical partner, or ghosting someone to avoid a difficult conversation. This is because the avoidant attachment style often came out of a childhood that had a lot of criticism and blame or subtle shaming when people shared feelings or needs. And as a result, the easiest way often feels like just avoiding these interactions where a partner might be upset, or trying to convince a partner that what they're concerned about isn't actually a big deal. For the avoidant style, they have either suppressed their feelings to the point where things don't feel like a big deal, or they have become good at distracting themselves from their feelings. Typically, they come from a childhood where other people did not provide soothing or help them identify and accept their feelings and needs. So they become highly independent, and they are typically used to self-soothing, though this may come in the form of distractions where they throw themselves into work, hobbies, fitness, video games, web browsing, that kind of thing. The avoidant and dating. Let's talk about the avoidant and dating. When it comes to dating, many avoidants are drawn to shorter and more casual relationships because that kind of deeper level of intimacy can require more expression of feelings, and that can be uncomfortable for them. In the beginning stages of dating, when there isn't as much deep emotional depth required, they can get certain needs met, such as fun, adventure, companionship, physical intimacy, and enjoyment. One of the challenges in dating for someone who has avoidant attachment can be finding compatible partners who don't seem to take up too much time from competing pressures such as work and fitness. If an avoidantly attached person and an anxiously attached person try to get into a relationship, and by the way, it's common for them to attract each other, there's often some discussion around how much time they're spending together and when, since someone with anxious attachment will likely want more time together and be dissatisfied with an avoidant schedule. And this dissatisfaction will feel like a criticism to the more avoidant partner, who then feels put upon and trapped and thinks the anxious partner is wanting more from them than they're able to give. In this case, they often leave before the relationship becomes particularly serious. Now, avoidant attachment in relationships. Let's talk about what it's like for someone with avoidant attachment once they're in a relationship. People tend to enter relationships quickly, but after a few months, they realize that it's not quite right, or that emotional closeness is getting a little too demanding, and then they move on, or they think about other relationships that might be better. It can be tempting to focus on a relationship from the past, the proverbial one that got away, or kind of an ideal dream relationship, particularly if a partner is too giving. An avoidant can find them kind of boring, whereas a partner who plays hard to get can be seen as a challenge and more interesting, sometimes due to an underlying belief that you have to work to get love. And although avoidants can be seen as commitment phobic, they do take commitment very seriously. In general, this attachment style tends to be less emotionally connected to their partners than other styles, and find it difficult to be relied on or provide consistent connection and loving gestures, which many people, especially the anxious attachment style, like to receive from their partner. Sometimes their partners make requests which seem small to their partner but feel huge to the avoidant attacher, and this can make them feel kind of like overwhelmed and tend towards distraction, withdrawal, or if any of those aren't possible, shut down. The avoidant adaptation can get a reputation for being afraid of commitment, and a lot of relationships don't last long. But that being said, the avoidant can find long-term relationships when they find a balance between connection and alone time, and do that deeper work of becoming more comfortable with their feelings and those of their partner. They also feel more comfortable in relationships where they're seen and understood, as those were often needs left unfulfilled in childhood. As long as that understanding does not come with demands, but instead comes with recognition, and acceptance that they need space at times. You can guess that you might be dating someone who is an avoidant attacher if they do many of the following. Though they may have been talkative and interested in getting to know you, even warm and charismatic, over time they become more withdrawn. They say that they had a good childhood, but they don't have a lot of emotions attached to events or remember much detail. They judge you or others for not being as independent or self-sufficient as they are. They prioritize work over personal relationships and may have difficulty committing to plans, arrive late because of a work engagement, or be distracted by technology while you are together. They may imply that they have feelings for you, but seem reluctant to say, "I love you." Now let's talk about triggers for the avoidant attachment style. Triggers for an avoidant attacher can include being criticized by people close to them, being in a situation where they're expected to share their emotions, thinking that a relationship is just taking too much of their time, being asked for attention or other needs from a partner, or a partner getting emotionally close to them. Deep down, people with avoidant attachment would like emotional and physical intimacy like anyone else, but feelings can make them uncomfortable, so this conflict can cause them to detach from their innate human needs for connection and intimacy. There's more and more recognition that it is possible to shift our attachment style to become more secure, and this is done through learning about our attachment tendencies and working to change them for more secure behavior, as well as getting more in touch with our innate human feelings and needs. I teach people how to create corrective experiences that help the attachment system to experience ease and enjoyment in connection. In the case of avoidant attachment style, this involves having the experience of being seen and understood, building comfort around identifying and asking for needs to be met, communicating with greater depth of emotion and greater understanding of a partner's emotional states, and learning alternatives to the withdrawal, dissociation, and shutdown strategies that people can be using to cope. I mentioned earlier that the anxious and avoidant styles often attract, and if you want to know why and how to avoid this particular dynamic, you can check out my video on why the anxious and avoidant styles attract each other. You can also find supportive resources, guided visualizations, and other resources at KayleeLarkin.com. If you got something out of watching this, please hit the like button and subscribe button to get more useful content. Your support helps me reach more people. And if you know someone who would like this message, you can also click share to let them know. This is Kaylee Larkin, wishing you a beautiful relational journey.